Teresa Taylor.
Here.
David Miller.
Here.
Malia Cohen. Michael DeToy.
Here.
Patrick Henning for Fiona Ma. Here. Arena Ortega. Here. Jose Luis Pacheco.
Present.
Kevin Palke.
Good morning.
Ramon Rubacava.
Here.
Yvonne Walker.
Here.
Melissa Willette.
Here.
Dr. Gail Willis.
Is she not on today? Okay, so I don't have to read the thing. Okay, so I have asked our new board member, Mike DeToy, to do the, Malia is here. Okay, to do the Pledge of Allegiance for us.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. With that, thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, and welcome. So I want to start off this morning by congratulating my colleagues who have been elected to serve as chair and vice chair of our committees that met yesterday, and we look forward to working with you throughout the year. So as many of you know, February is Black History Month, a national observance to celebrate both the influence and perseverance of the Black community in America. Each year, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History selects the theme for Black History Month. This year's theme is African American labor, which focuses on the impact that African American labor has had throughout U.S. history. The National Education Association has written an article called 5 Black Leaders That Shaped the Labor Movement. I encourage you to read it as it serves as an introduction to learn more about the intersection of labor, racial justice, and the historic accomplishments of Black Americans. While some have erased Black History Month and other observances from their calendars, we proudly celebrate it here at CalPERS. And let me conclude with a moment of personal privilege. We were recently informed about the passing of Tim Behrens, the former president of the California State Retirees. Tim was a constant figure at our board meetings and stakeholder briefings, proudly representing the retiree community. He spent 3 decades advocating for state employees and retirees through his work with CSEA, the Association of California State Supervisors, and later California State Retirees. He often made public comments sharing his insights and thoughts on how we could strengthen and improve our delivery of retirement and healthcare benefits. We appreciated his support and collaboration, and especially his humor and candidness. He was a kind and caring person, and will be deeply missed in our CalPERS extended family. On the behalf of the board, I would offer our condolences and wish his family the best. So now I'm going to turn my report back to Marcy to do her report.
Good morning, President Taylor and board members. Let me also begin by congratulating Mike DeToy, who I had an opportunity to meet at our educational forum last fall. He attended the elected officials track, so I know a couple of our board members were in that session as well and had a moment to introduce themselves. So welcome to the Sacramento headquarters. I know the team is looking forward to onboarding you more. I know you feel maybe a little bit like you're getting a lot all at the same time with joining us yesterday via Zoom, but we're here to help you. So anything you need, just don't hesitate to reach out. I also want to thank Lisa Middleton, who served with distinction for over 6 years on this board. Our team and our members are really grateful for her service. She has this professionalism about her. She kept a really nice balance between representing, public employers, but also understanding that this board and this entity is here for serving our members. And she kept that always in balance, and we really appreciated her service and her thoughts. So I'd also like to talk about an announcement of an upcoming recruitment campaign. This is really designed to complement the CalPERS team in Sacramento, but frankly, this could be used to complement the team in our regional locations around the state as well. So we have put together a multimedia effort that will reach potential applicants across the state of California, not just in the Sacramento area. This campaign will begin next week, and it will run through the spring, then again in the fall of this year. You can see some examples of these images on the screen here in the auditorium. This is one of the billboards, and most of the individuals who you will see in this campaign are team members already working at CalPERS who feel a very strong sense of belonging, a pride in working in this organization, and want to be a part of recruiting others to share the experiences that they have while working here. The campaign does focus on the inspiration we receive as team members by serving those who serve California, and again features many of our own CalPERS team members. Fritzy Archuleta from our actuarial office will be prominently a part of this campaign, and I will send you an email with all of the various links, including video links. I won't send you the outtakes, which were the best part, but the team had a lot of fun putting this together, and I will keep you updated on our progress as we look at filling out the candidate pools and filling a number of vacancies around the organization. One of our core values that is really directed not just within the organization, but also outside of the organization is around transparency. So I want to highlight some recent developments in our work to not only promote transparency, but to require it from the partners that we work with. Transparency is a key component of ensuring that we can provide long-term investment returns. And this is especially true when it comes to whether our team can assess climate impacts of companies where we are invested. And we are concerned that our federal partners may be reversing course. Last week, the acting chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission signaled the agency would pause from defending its important climate disclosure rule in court. This is a rule that CalPERS has long supported, not just at the federal level, but certainly here in the state of California. It is a policy that simply seeks to ensure investors have clear and consistent data related to a company's material climate-related risks. It is not about setting targets for Scope 3 emissions. I think we've been really clear about that, but the transparency in the data and allowing CalPERS to be able to make the determination of whether we are getting the return for the risk that we're taking by tying up our capital for the long term. We say it often, but it's important, I think, to say it again. We are a long-term investor. Protecting our members' pension investment means we must be good at assessing risk. And we've said it all along that climate risk is a financial risk. These risks didn't just appear with the results of last November's elections, and we don't think that efforts to understand those risks should disappear either. We will work hard to make our case to the new leaders of the SEC, and we welcome any opportunity where we can seek common ground, but we do continue to believe and support transparency as a fundamental investor right. And I will have a number of meetings as new heads of departments come into Washington, D.C. I'm pleased to meet with whoever would like an audience with us, but there are a couple that we will be targeting to set up some meetings just to explain the way that CalPERS invests from a fiduciary standpoint, regardless of what they might hear about how we invest. We are also proud supporters of enhanced transparency regarding our investments in private markets. Last month, a prominent organization representing limited partners in private equity proposed new guidelines to standardize the size and scope of investor information. CalPERS is a leader in that organization and strongly supports the effort. Consistent information, again, in climate or otherwise in private equity as well, is key to making sure we can compare investment opportunities to ensure, again, that our members have full access to the benefit that they've earned over their careers. And as we discussed last month, our private equity team has had great success in meeting and exceeding its objectives over the shorter term. And one way to keep that momentum going is to urge the industry to go further in adopting consistent standards for the information shared with investors. And then finally, it's important that we practice what we preach. Transparency isn't just good for our investing. It's not just good for the partners we do business with. It's also good for our operational areas. The results of the last independent survey that reviews our internal and external practices found higher scores than last year. This score, compiled by the CEM Benchmarking Institute out of Toronto, Canada, found CalPERS ranked third globally for the transparency of our public disclosures. Although we ranked third globally, we did rank number one for U.S. public pension plans that are in the CEM survey, and there are a number of the big, larger statewide plans in that survey. So we do have some room to improve in some categories. And again, that's the importance of attending the meetings. It's important of sharing our data and getting feedback from others who have a consistent way of measuring and looking at transparency. And so we'll continue to work on those items, not about improving our score, but about improving the transparencies that our stakeholders have asked us to continue working on. So with that, President Taylor, that does conclude my report, but I am happy to take any questions.
Okay. I don't see any questions, but Ms. Willett asked for a point of personal privilege, so go ahead. Oh. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. Again, no questions. Just wanted to shout out that I had the opportunity to visit the Sacramento regional office since our last meeting, and Takara walked me around for quite some time. I got to meet some of the staff out there. It's the biggest office of the CalPERS regional offices and the busiest. Man, did I think the other offices were busy, but it was really great. Every window was full, with the waiting room full. Great to see our plan participants, retirees there participating actively in their retirement and their benefits. And I really just wanted to shout out to Takara and that team in the Sacramento regional office for showing me such a great time and helping me better understand the frontline work that CalPERS does. And I get around because I also got a chance to visit the Fresno regional office, and Patty and the team out there, a smaller but mightier team representing the Central Valley, where we had members, again, super busy. We had members from literally hundreds of miles around coming to ask questions, getting that hands-on experience. So I encourage all the time our participants and beneficiaries to participate in the virtual classes, to participate in the virtual interviews and appointments, but there's nothing better than being able to show up, get your questions answered, get that hands-on, have somebody tell you that you're going to be able to retire, and get your paperwork and questions answered. So I just really want to shout out to the Fresno regional office and the Sacramento regional office for allowing me to come visit and giving me a tour of their offices and their facilities. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Willett. And with that, we will move on to the next agenda item, which is action consent items. Pleasure of the board, please. Moved by Mr. Miller, seconded by Jose Luis Pacheco. With that, I can have a verbal vote. So all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, and any abstentions. All right, action consent items passed. moving on to agenda item number 6, information consent items. I have not received any requests to remove anything for a report. So then we are going to move on to committee reports. And our first committee report will be the investment committee. And with David, I need you to push your button. There you go. With that, I will call on Mr. Miller.
Okay, good morning, everybody. The Investment Committee met on February 18th, 2025. The committee received a report on the following topic: the asset liability management, key risk trade-offs, and risk appetite. The committee heard public comment on the following topic: total portfolio approach, private equity, and labor issues. At this time, I would like to share some highlights of what to expect at the March Investment Committee meeting. Policy changes for the responsible contractor policy, and this will be the third reading. The CalPERS trust level review, asset liability management, proxy voting and corporate engagements update, modernizing investment data and technology update, and the total fund portfolio management investment treasury overview. The next meeting of the Investment Committee is scheduled for March 17th, 2025 in Sacramento, California. That concludes my report, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. With that, I will call on the chair of the Finance Administration Committee, Mr. Palkey.
Thank you. Good morning. The Finance and Administration Committee met on February 18th, 2025. The committee held an election for the Finance and Administrative Committee Chair and Vice Chair. Kevin Palkey was elected Chair and Melissa Willett was elected Vice Chair. The committee recommends, and I move, the board approve the following. Matt, can I do this all as one group, or do I have to do separately? Just one. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The following, agenda item 4C, approve the June 30th, 2024 Judges Retirement System Actuarial Valuation Report and the corresponding transmittal letter to the governor and legislator. Encourage the governor and legislator to adopt an employer contribution schedule that includes advanced funding of the Judges Retirement System, JRS. Agenda item 4D, approve the Judges Retirement System 2 Actuarial Valuation Report as of June 30th, 2024, and the corresponding transmittal letter to the governor and legislator. Adopt the employer contribution rate of 22.62% and a member contribution rate of 16.75% of salary for members subject to the Public Employees Pension Reform Act of 2013, PEPRA, for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026, for the Judges Retirement System 2. Agenda item 4E, approve the June 30th, 2024 Legislators Retirement System Actuarial Valuation Report and the corresponding transmittal letter to the governor and legislator. Adopt the employer, the contribution amount of $493,219 for the period of July 1, 2025 through July 30th, 26 for the legislators' retirement system. Agenda item 6A, approve the initiation of the 2025 member-at-large election for the CalPERS Board of Administration by adopting the notice of election.
All right, on motion by committee, is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the recommended motion? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Agenda items pass. Go ahead.
The committee heard public comment on the following topics: 2025 CalPERS Board of Administration member-at-large notice of election. At this time, I would like to share some highlights of what to expect at the April Finance and Administration meeting. Semi-annual contracting perspective report, valuation report for the 1959 Survivor Benefit Program, semi-annual health plan financial report, pension contracts management program report, investment data and technology modernization initiative, 2025 through 26 annual budget proposal, annual review of board member employer reimbursements, state valuation and employer-employee contribution rates, school valuation and employer-employee contribution rates, long-term care valuation report. The next meeting for the Finance and Administration Committee is scheduled for April 14th, 2025 in Sacramento, California.
Thank you for your report. With that, I'm calling on the chair of the PCTM Performance Compensation Management Committee to read the report. Hold on, that did not work. I hit the wrong thing. There we go.
Thank you. The Performance Compensation and Talent Management Committee met on February 18th, 2025. The committee held an election of the Performance Compensation and Talent Management Committee Chair and Vice Chair. I, Melissa Willett, was elected Chair, and Controller Malia Cohen was elected Vice Chair. The committee received a report on the Executive Succession Planning Update and some highlights of what to expect at the April 2025 Performance Compensation and Talent Management Committee meeting are the committee will receive reports on fiscal year 2025-26 incentive metrics for executive and investment management positions and market compensation survey data, and the committee will receive an education session around incentives and a total portfolio approach. The next meeting of the Performance Compensation and Talent Management Committee is scheduled for April 14th, 2025 in Sacramento, California. Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Ms. Willett. With that, I'm calling on the chair of the Risk and Audit Committee. Ms. Cohen, I need you to push your button, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. The Risk and Audit Committee met on February 18th, 2025. And in this meeting, I was elected chair and David Miller was elected vice chair. The committee recommends that, and I move, the board approve the following. Agenda item 6A, Office of Audit Services Charter Revision. Approve proposed revisions to the Office of Audit Service Charter. Second, agenda item 6B, third-party parallel valuation and certification services for June 30th, 2024, 25, and 26. Actuarial reports request for proposal. Approve the release of an RFP seeking an external firm to provide parallel actuarial valuations and certification services to the board administration on a quadrennial schedule. The committee received reports on the following topics: an update on the 2024-25 enterprise compliance and
Ms.
risk.
Cohen, you got to stop. We have to take the motions separately.
Okay.
Could you read the last sentence of the last part of agenda
Approve
item
the draft
16?
serves to be provided minimum qualifications, proposal evaluation process, and proposal evaluation sheet.
All right. Thank you. On motion by committee, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? With that, the agenda items 6A and 6B pass. Go ahead.
Then the committee received reports on several different topics. The first one was an update on the 2024-25 Enterprise Compliance and Risk Management Mid-Year Plan. The second was the 2025-27 Office of Audit Services Strategic Plan, and also want to note that there was no public comment. At this time, I'd like to share some highlights of what to expect at the June Risk and Audit Committee meeting the 2025 Enterprise Compliance and Risk Management Plan, the 2025-26 Office of Audit Services Plan, and then also the Independent Auditor's Annual Plan. The next meeting for this committee, the Risk and Audit Committee, is scheduled for June 25th, 2025 here in Sacramento.
Thank you, Ms. Cohen. I appreciate it. With that, I will call on our Vice President, Mr. Miller, to go over our proposed decisions of administrative law judges. There you go.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to adopt the proposed decisions at agenda items 8A1 through 8A5 with the minor modifications argued by staff to agenda items 8A1 and 8A2.
All right. Do I have a second? I'll second it. All right. On the motion, do we have any discussion on that? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? All right, motion passes. Is that it? All right, with that, What are you talking about? Oh, yeah. I have it in front of me.
Okay.
With that, we are on, make sure that's the last thing. Yep, we are on agenda item number 9. And with that, I'd love to talk to 9A, state and federal legislative update, Danny Brown.
Good morning, Madam President and board members. And actually, we need to do 8B.
Oh, yeah, Danny, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So
That's
Danny
my
Brown,
bad.
Danny Brown, CalPERS team member. Agenda item 8B is an action item for the board to sponsor legislation to make technical and clarifying changes to the Public Employees Retirement Law. Specifically, this proposal will clarify several final compensation provisions in the Public Employees Retirement Law that apply to both Classic and PEPRA members. Although these provisions apply to both Classic and PEPRA members, they only use the term compensation earnable, which is a Classic term. So to avoid confusion, we want to add the term pensionable compensation to those provisions. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Does anybody have any questions? Danny, so that's pretty much all we're amending, is that little part right there, to make sure?
Yes, there's 4 separate provisions dealing with final compensation that we want to add the term pensionable comp to.
I got it, because otherwise it could be
Yeah,
interpreted differently. I actually have a whole bunch of people now. Mr. Rublikava, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. I'm a little rusty on my PEPRA since I retired a couple years ago. But does this also, our proposal, does that extend also to 37 Act counties, or is it only for CalPERS?
It is only for people that are retiring from CalPERS. In fact, 37 Act County made this change a couple years ago to their provisions. That kind of gave us the idea to make sure that it's clear that if a person is a Classic member, we're going to use, compensation earnable, and if they're a PEPRA member, we're going to calculate their final comp using the PEPRA rules.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. That clarifies a lot.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pacheco.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Brown. I just want to ask you, so the pensionable compensation, is that a relatively new definition, or I'm just trying to understand?
No, it was a term defined by PEPRA. So it's in the PEPRA provisions, which is not, it's actually a separate piece of law that applies to all pension systems. So it was never actually added in these sections into our law. So we just want to make sure that there's a lot of provisions that we use in our law still that apply to PEPRA members. Mm-hmm. The PEPRA law did not, wasn't all encompassing when it was put into.
So we're applying this definition to the Classic.
No, only to PEPRA members.
Only to PEPRA members in our laws, in our PEPRA laws.
Right. When someone who is a PEPRA member retires from CalPERS, we want to make sure it's clear that we're using the PEPRA term you're using pensionable compensation when they retire to calculate their benefit.
So moving forward, then that will be the new definition. Then.
Yeah. Well, we've always been doing it, but the law, we were applying it that way. Mm-hmm. But if someone looked at the actual statute we were using, they might question, why are you using pensionable compensation? It's not in that provision.
Oh, I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense now. I understand. Thank you very much for clarifying that nuance in the law.
All right. I see no more questions from the board. So, Danny, we can move on to your legislative update.
Need to take a vote.
You need a
Oh, this is an actual vote.
Yes.
Sorry.
I will move second.
Okay, so it's moved by Mr. Pacheco, seconded by Mr. Miller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hold on 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to take the vote all over again. So all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, hearing no opposition. Any abstentions? Okay, I have an abstention from Patrick. With that, the agenda item passes, and then now we can move on.
Thank you, Danny Brown, CalPERS team member again. The state and federal legislative update. There's not much to update on the state side. The new bill introduction deadline is this Friday. There's been about 1,200 bills introduced so far. We expect could be another 1,000 bills introduced in the next 3 days. The team is busy reviewing and identifying the bills that might impact CalPERS. So far, we've identified a handful of health bills that we're taking a closer look at, and we're expecting some pension bills to be introduced by the end of the week. So hopefully next month there'll be some actual bills to discuss with you. But right now, we're just kind of in a waiting game. And so now moving to the federal update. As most of you probably know by now, on January 5th, President Biden signed the Social Security Fairness Act into law, which repealed the windfall elimination provision and government pension offset. The new law is retroactive to benefits paid in 2024, but the Social Security Administration has indicated that it could take more than a year to adjust benefits and pay all the retroactive benefits. Also, since our last meeting in November, we have submitted 5 comment letters. In November, CalPERS and Covered California submitted a joint response to a request for public comment voicing support on draft recommendations on women's preventive services guidelines as proposed by the Women's Preventive Service Initiative. In December, we submitted 2 letters. The first one was a response to a request for information expressing support on a Medicare $2 drug list model developed by the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Innovation. The second was another joint response with Covered California to CMS on a request for comment on enhancing coverage of preventive services under the Affordable Care Act. We commented in support of this proposal requiring group health plans to offer over-the-counter contraception without prescription and without cost sharing. Finally, in January, we submitted 2 more letters. The first letter was submitted in support of OSHA's proposed rule on heat injury and illness prevention in outdoor and indoor work settings. The second letter was submitted in response to CMS's request for comment on annual updates to Medicare Advantage and Part D program. We commented in support of the proposals to increase access to generic and biosimilar prescription drugs, expand the annual health equity analysis reporting, implement guardrails for artificial intelligence, and align cost sharing for MA services to that of traditional Medicare. All these letters can be found on our external website. And then in closing, I'll just say there has been a lot of activity in DC that the team is monitoring closely in coordination with our federal representatives, and we will engage when warranted to educate and shape policy consistent with our longstanding policy priorities and values. And with that, that ends my report, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. So all of these letters, except for one, were submitted under the Biden administration. The one in January was obviously under the Trump administration. What is your thoughts on any of the letters having any impact now that the Trump administration is in?
Those are very good questions. I think it's already been said that on the OSHA letter, the heat and injury prevention, that's kind of on hold, and they're going to rework that letter. I think the other ones are, kind of wait and see. These are kind of annual type of things that the CMS does. A lot of the letters went to CMS, and so I imagine some of the CMS work will continue. But whether or not, our comments will have any weight, we'll have to wait and see.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Pacheco, go ahead. He has a question.
Thank you, President Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Brown. I just want to ask you a question. You mentioned that this Friday is the due date for the bills in the state. You said about 1,200 bills are in the pipeline. Now, just some clarifying questions on process. Do they go to the Rules Committee? Is that usually the process to be assigned to the committees after they're brought in?
Correct. Yes. Once they get introduced, they go to the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee will send them to a committee of jurisdiction.
And how long? What is the timeline usually with respect to that?
The Rules Committee assigns them fairly quickly, and then they have to be in print for 30 days before they can be heard in a committee.
So in print and then so forth, and then at that point, the public will have access to that information by going to.
Oh, yes, all the bills the public has access. Once they get introduced, they are public. They're on their legislative website, so you can look up all of the bills on the legislative website.
Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you, Ms. Taylor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Thank you, Mr. Brown. With that, we are going to move on to 9B, which is the summary of board direction. I didn't think so. No board direction. 9C, we do have public comment. So 9C, I'm going to call up Sarah Granda, JJ Jelinsick, and LR Roberts.
The first public commenter will be via phone.
Oh, All right, Sarah? Doesn't say that. Do we have somebody on the phone? Not yet? Okay. So no, Sarah, keep an eye if she gets on the phone and let me know. JJ and LR Roberts. JJ seems to be here first.
JJ Jelensik, RPEA. In August, this board sponsored the Pathways for Women's Conference. From everything I've heard, it was a success. It achieved its goals, which were to hear from professional pioneers, get actionable insights, join a leadership community and build your network, level up your skills to help carve your own professional path. Did it increase the risk-adjusted returns? No. Did it reduce pension administration costs? No. Did it increase access to health care? No. Did it reduce medical costs, which is what beneficiaries want? No. Did it increase medical costs, which is what the board wants? No. Since the conference did not serve the purposes of the trust fund, in September, on behalf of the Retired Public Employees Association, I asked you, as trustees, if you would reimburse the fund for the inappropriate expenditures. David Miller shook his head. President Taylor asked if it was a question. When told it was, she said, quote, "We will have to get back to you," unquote. In November, I repeated the question because I have not gotten an answer. It's 5 months after I originally asked. To date, only David Miller has answered the question. I acknowledge that Michael DeToy was not part of the decision. So again, as trustees, I ask on behalf of RPA, are you going to reimburse the trust fund for the inappropriate expenditures? Thank you.
So JJ, I normally would not respond. This is the third time you've been up here. No, we're not going to do that. And I think that you're well aware that women in finance do help our returns. So let's be clear about that. And other than
that was not the purpose of the conference. I read you the purpose of the conference. Thank you.
Fine, but you got your answer.
I appreciate it. It only took 5 months.
Ms. Roberts?
Hi, I'm LR Roberts. I'm a retired civil servant. I worked at STRS. I'm now in RPEA and CSR. And I'm going to talk about dental and vision being covered under Medicare Advantage plans. The first civil service contract was in 1983. We negotiated health and pay and working conditions. And prior to that, the state provided dental vision through, and it was administered in those days by DPA and later now by HR. My husband died January 15th, 2024, who was also a PERS member. And widows go through the nightmare of filling out benefit forms after their loved one dies. PERS was the first to pay me, and Delta Dental gave PERS permission to do the Delta Dental paperwork, which worked out great. But VSP does not allow the PERS staff people to do that, and it has been a total nightmare. It only got fixed a week ago, a year and a month after my husband died. So there's a JAMA article, which our very talented staff person printed for me because I couldn't get it to print, that talks about it. So it is dated 2024 and it's December 26, 2024 from JAMA, you know, the Journal of the American Medical Association. So this thing where we've got our healthcare in one place and our pension in one place and then our dental and vision in another place. We could have it, so already if you go to UC Davis, they have a dental, or they used to have a dental place right there at the medical center near my house. If you're at Kaiser, for instance, at the one on Cal Expo or the one down on Bruceville, they have a vision place already there that does glasses and stuff. So it's something we could look into. What's going on now, this administrative nightmare where it's in two different places, I think we should stop doing. Anyway, it's a very good article, and there's another article at JAMA on the same issue. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, is Sarah on the phone? Okay. With that, then, hearing no more public comments, we'll adjourn now into the closed session for items 1 through 3 from the closed session agenda. This will include the following litigation matters. A, Wedding et al. Versus CalPERS, Los Angeles County Superior Court. We will also receive the General Counsel's update on pending litigation. After the closed session, the board will reconvene in open session. So for now, thank you for coming to our board meeting. We will see you all in March. Thank you very much. This committee's recessed. Good morning, everybody. So, welcome back to open session. We do have some public comment, so I'd like to call our public commenters in. And I know they're working on it right now. You want to do the one on the phone first? That'll work. Go ahead, public commenter on the phone.
Yes, President Taylor, we have Richard Egan on the line regarding the management of the organization.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
Egan.
Mr. Egan.
Hi, are you ready? I know I've only got 3 minutes.
Yes, we are.
Okay, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate you listening to my concerns today. My name is Richard Egan, and the reason for my call is I really just wanted to get some of this stuff on public record in case some of the board members are unaware. And if they are, just so that they can be held accountable. But wanted to talk about 2 main things here. One, the public records laws of the state of California, and secondarily, my retirement application. I was an employee of Lassen County for over 30 years, decided to retire last year and submitted my retirement application accordingly. The compliance review team, in my opinion, is using me as a pawn in the leverage to get my employer to comply with some non-substantive, silly technicality called a publicly available pay schedule, which I understand Lassen County and probably many other jurisdictions never have had a technically compliant publicly available pay schedule. Yet hundreds of people have retired and continue to retire without that. But anyway, they selected me to use as an example to reduce my retirement. And of course, I'm appealing that decision. We'll see where that goes. But in the meantime, I made a public records request because some of the information that I need for that appeal, which is pertinent, like, if there are others that have been discriminated like I have, or if there's public available pay schedules. So I made a PRA request formally on February 6th. As you all know, there's a 10-day requirement to respond. You don't necessarily have to provide the records, but you do have to respond. And the first response I got from the CalPERS employee was that, no, here's a link to a online system that you can fill out and do that. And if not, we're not going to respond. I politely explained to that employee that, no, that's not how the public records laws work. And you're required to accept the public records request in the form that it comes and respond accordingly. Got no response from that employee. That was Amy Alfieri. Finally, after a few days, got to her supervisor, who is Diane Cooper, got essentially the same response. And finally got to her supervisor, Brad Hansen, who I think reluctantly acknowledged the facts of the public records law and forwarded it on to somebody. Interestingly, about 10 minutes ago, while I was waiting on hold after I gave my name and so forth to the caller, I got an email with a response, which is now, of course, 3 days out of compliance, which is not the end of the world, but I think it's just ridiculous that not only do we have to have a law that mandates an agency to comply with public documentation rather than just freely doing it, but it takes such a difficult process to get compliance that I think you all should be aware of it. Perhaps train your staff on public records compliance. Now, the response that I got was essentially a non-response.
Sir, we're way past our 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So can you wrap it up?
Okay, well, yeah. So anyway, I guess I'll see you next meeting. But I hope you look into some of those management competence issues and get some training for your staff.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sarah Granda, and we will wait for her to start.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to set up here.
I think we need to hang up the outside line. Thank you.
I can't hold it though. Oh. Hello. Okay, got it. All right. I only have like 6 minutes because I tried to, figure it out. Anyway, so yeah. Good morning, members of the CalPERS board. I'm here today to put phase 2 ground of CalPERS. So me, an active and ongoing federal case, and to present the human cost of this board's inaction. So we have 2 pointed questions, right? Number 1, much like our current federal administration, why does CalPERS, including this board, right, feel it is above the law? Okay. Number 2, how many more years must I endure before CalPERS complies with its own legal obligations? Okay. So 27 years ago, when I was at age 18, I sustained a catastrophic accident, leaving me paralyzed and fully ventilator dependent. Okay. CalPERS and my family entered into a private agreement, one which CalPERS committed to providing my ongoing nursing care, right? It wasn't a negotiation. CalPERS alone drafted this settlement agreement, yet despite its own written terms, right, which require an annual meeting with me to address my healthcare concerns, CalPERS has only complied with 5 years of those 27 years. So 22 years, right, left of non-compliance. So because CalPERS has refused to meet with me, I was forced to become a licensed attorney myself, right? So I am a licensed attorney, and just to compel a meeting with all of us with CalPERS exec staff in 2010. So CalPERS, you guys wield total power and control of my ability to live, my ability to leave, like my house, right? Participate in society, potentially even work. And as a licensed attorney, I did work for a former state employee, DHCS, okay? So this is Department of Healthcare Services. And they also provide public benefits to, the public, right? Just like CalPERS. And I am intimately aware of what the law requires, what needs to happen. Yet despite 10 years of us all going back and forth, CalPERS, since 2015, I'm still fighting for the same care, for legal rights I have after having been hospitalized multiple times due to inadequate nursing care that I begged you guys to provide me so I didn't have to be hospitalized over and over and over and over again, right? So 2014, this resulted in the biggest, severe health decline in my life, probably worse than my initial injury, right? So right now my career is gone, right? And my health has been irreparably damaged, all because CalPERS refuses to follow your own policies, guys. You guys made this agreement, so 2020, I was finally able to meet with CalPERS, but only after paying $10,000 to get an attorney to spark a mediation to get going on. And then you guys refused an actual real solution. So not even a global pandemic, right, that killed millions was enough to push CalPERS to ensure that I had the care I needed to survive. So left with no other choice, I filed a federal lawsuit, right? But in August 2022, court denied your guys' motion for judgment on the pleadings, highlighting CalPERS as systemic failures, classifying you guys as a public entity subject to all state and federal healthcare disability and public benefit laws, yet no action was taken. May 15 of last year, the same court issued a temporary restraining order in my favor, meaning the court determined that my case represents a significant risk to irreparable harm and that my case poses a strong likelihood for success at trial. Okay, so 4 days later, when CalPERS did not comply with this TRO, right, I filed a motion to compel, and the same federal court granted my motion to compel, right, forcing hopefully TRO compliance, right? But yet CalPERS has yet to comply. So with no one else to implement this TRO, that responsibility again fell on me. So by default, right, the job of enforcing a court order, which is CalPERS' obligation, is for me to do now, right? And so because of CalPERS' failure to comply, my job has become 3 or 4 times more taxing. Okay, so this is like an implementation that I alone am doing to coordinate all 24 hours of my care, right? I'm effectively implementing a TRO that CalPERS should be implementing, but it's an undue burden, huge undue burden placed on me. And while I continue to suffer, right, you guys, CalPERS evades a responsibility at the cost of my life, say. So CalPERS is now paying between $165 and $300 an hour for the private duty nursing that I need, right? Yet I'm still suffering, right? I can't even leave my house because I can't afford to leave my house, right? I need to leave California because I can't, but I can't because, right? Down a little. I'm hoping to return to Seattle where there are adequate services for the spinal cord injured population, but I can't afford to move. Okay, my credit cards are all maxed out due to years and years of paying for care, any care I could find, because you guys weren't going to help me find any of the care, right? I could barely keep up with my monthly payments and my mortgage. I have little money for food or, daily needs, and I even refinanced my home and pulled out $100,000 to remodel for my care needs, including infection control, right? Nurse access to like many things, and a live-in caregiver space, right? But
Ms. Miranda?
yeah.
I've let you go over by 2 minutes, so you've had about 8 minutes now.
Okay, I'm gonna try.
Can you please wind up?
I'm trying to wrap it up. She has 3 minutes. I can take your 3 minutes, Samra, if you want to make comment. So, I'm just asking for some kind of compliance, and I just don't want to have to die, okay? Because I am gonna die if I can't get anything to kind of move, okay? So the consequences to this board are growing exponentially. You guys have some criminal negligence, right? And, I could go through all of these, penal codes, right? Business and professions codes, civil codes, government codes, California insurance codes, right? California Code of Civil Procedure down. I'm sorry.
Can you submit the rest of it in writing?
I can, but I submit everything in writing to you
Okay.
guys, and the court has ordered you to do anything, but I can't get you guys to comply with much. So I'm just trying to help, be here to try to do anything, right? As the final plea, because I've already begged you guys to not to stop all of this so that I could not.
Miranda, I do have to cut you off. You're way over your 6 minutes. We're going on 9-10 minutes at this point. So I think we get the gist of it. Is there anything else?
No, I guess I'm just wondering how much longer I have to hold out until you guys will try to help me and comply with any court order. But
So because there's pending litigation, the board cannot comment on any of this, unfortunately.
I'm just tired. Just want to live. I lost my career, So
I do appreciate your comments. So we will be adjourning the meeting. So I just wanted to let you guys know. Is there any more public comment that we should be worried about? Okay. With that, I am adjourning this month's Board of Administration meeting. Our next meeting of the Board of Administration is scheduled for March 17th through the 19th in 2025. So everybody have a good afternoon. Thank you so much. Take care.